How's it going, people? My name's Josh. I was a computer science teacher for about a decade, and now I run a tutoring business where I've helped thousands of students to get better grades in computer science related courses. And what I've been doing is putting this series of lessons together to help you out in A-level computer science. Now, Karnaugh maps is a topic which is relevant to the OCR specification and Cambridge International specification. And what it is all to do with is simplifying Boolean algebraic expressions. So the general steps of what we need to do is being able to put inputs and outputs into 2, 3, and 4 Karnaugh maps where they've taken various different inputs in there. And then what we need to do is be able to actually read Karnaugh maps to see how we can simplify them. So let's have a little look at what we need to do on these ones. So comparing this to a truth table, you can see that we've got the truth table over here and how the outputs correspond to the different positions in the Karnaugh map. So this is the Karnaugh map over here. You've got the inputs here, and then you can see that these are the outputs and how they correspond to a specific place. So if we take a XOR gate, this is how it would look in a Karnaugh map, and it's just slightly different in that way. So what I've done is I've put the OCR Boolean algebra there and the Cambridge International specification ones over there because they're slightly different from one another and how they display them, so that you've got them both there. So with your respective exam board, just look at the correct one. Okay, so we've got two inputs. We've got A and B, as you can see here, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we can actually register this information in there and put in the outputs in the correct place. So what we need to do is, first of all, we're going to write a 1 in each of the places where A is true. So as we go down to where A is on, so true, and that we're going to just write 1s in each of those. So we're just looking at this part here first. We're then going to take the second part of it, which is going to be the A and B, and because that's in brackets, we have to take them both together, A and B. And then what we're going to do is just put a 1 in where that is true, and there is only one place where that is true, which is there. So as you can see, it's already been filled in, but just to illustrate the point, that's what we're going to go for. Then what you're going to do is draw a box around it, so we draw a box around it, and then we think to ourselves, what is the value which is not changing? So in this case, A never changes from being true. B changes because, as we can see, B goes from 0 to 1. We don't use not A at all. So in this case, we can simplify this just down to A, which, if you remember from the Boolean algebra lesson, this actually matches the absorption rule. So as you can see, this is just going to simplify to A. Now, one of the skills that I see a lot of my students struggling with is when it's on there, what is it actually telling us? So, if that didn't make a lot of sense there as to why that was A, the reason is because A, so when is because it's a 1 there, never changes from that. So that's why it simplifies from there. All of the other values change. So from here to here, B changes from 0 to 1, so it's not going to be any of the B's. It's not going to be not B or just B there. Or here it's not in the not A column, which is 0. So let's have a look at a couple of different combinations. So if it was just not B in here, if I draw a little shaded area around this one, so you can see that B changes just so it always stays in the 0 column for B. So this would actually simplify to not B. This one here, so it would be not A because it stays as 0. So it's always going to be not A. So in this case, that would be a good indicator that it would be not A. And if there was a 1 and a 1 in this one, that would just be B because B stays the same. And it's all about consistency with this. Now, that's kind of the first technique on this one. So to be able to put values in there and then just be able to actually read, like, what has it been simplified to? So those are the two skills that you need to be aware of, is like putting the values in there and then also being able to read it and simplify it. Making it a little bit more difficult now is a 3-variable Karnaugh map. So with a 3-variable Karnaugh map, what we've got is you lay it out like this. So you put one value down here, and then up at the top, you're going to put 0, 0, 0, 1. Confusingly, you put 1, 1 there. So just remember that one. So you're actually going to put the 3 there, not the 2, and then you put the 2 in. Okay, so that's just a really important point there. Now, if we have a look at how we would actually represent these particular values in there, what we have to do, so this is the Cambridge. So we've got A and not B, A and not B, or C, or C. So that's the OCR variation. This is the Cambridge one up here. Now, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to take the part which is in the brackets, which is going to be A and not B, and we're just going to deal with that part first. So all we need to do is we just need to put we need to put ones in where this is true. So we put them in this one here, because if you see where it's A and not B, so A needs to be 1 and B needs to be 0. So the only situations where that is true is going to be in this box here, because don't ignore the C. We're not going to worry about that. We're just dealing with the parts in the bracket. So it's going to be A and not B, A and not B. The reason we don't put it in here is because B is going to be 1 up here, so that isn't true for what we're looking for. And also, as you can see, B is 1 here. Okay, so that's another little skill that you need to be getting familiar with, is because it's the order at which they're going to be put in. So you've got B is going to be the first value, and then you've got C, which is going to be the next value. So that's how I know which one's going to be which there. So that's the first part. We then take the OR C. So we're just going to put in, so treat that completely normal here. And we're just going to go for, where is C1? So C is 1 here. So we put 1 there. C is 1 here, which we put 1 there. C is 1 here, which we put a 1 there. And C is 1 there, which we put a 1 there. We've already had a 1 in there because of before, but that's just to illustrate that. We then draw our boxes around them. So when you're drawing the boxes, and this is a little trick that you need to get familiar with, is that you can do it around 1s, 2s, 4s, and 8s. You cannot do it with odd numbers, apart from obviously 1, but you can't be doing it with like 3s, 5s. So it's got to be 1, 2, 4, and 8, and they can overlap in this case. So we draw a box around here, we draw a box around here. And then we're going to be practicing our skills now to make sure that we can actually simplify this into what it is that what we need to go for. So we can have a look on this one here, which that's actually going to be the A and not B. And then we can see that the yellow group here is going to represent C. So in this one, we can't actually simplify. It isn't going to simplify to anything. It's just going to stay as is because the value stays the same. So the only values that stay the same in the green box is going to be A and not B. But this one up here is just going to be stay as C. So it just the expression is going to stay as is. But it's really good practice for putting those values in there. Now, if we take a different example on this one here, we can have a look at what would this simplify to. So if I just take that out, because that's going to be a little bit confusing because that doesn't actually simplify to that. So let's see what this one represents. So we're looking for where the values do not change. A changes from 0 to 1 for this 4 here. So that isn't going to simplify. B is 0 and 0. So not B there works. C changes from 0 to 1, so it's not that. So what this would simplify to is not B, because B stays as 0 on that one there. So again, have a play around with. What I would do is maybe what you could do is you could put 4 1s in here. So you could put 4 1s in there and be like, what does that simplify to? And it's just about playing around with the different values and thinking about like, what are the different situations that I could get and what would that simplify down to? Now, let's try and do it with this expression here. So here's our OCR up at the top, and this is going to be our Cambridge International version of that here. So what we're going to do is, with the different brackets in there, is we're just going to treat them as they are. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first one, which is not A and B and C. So we're going for the not A and B and C. So that one there. So the only situation where that is true, because it's all of them together, is that one there. We then move on to the next one. So not A, B and C for the Cambridge International one is going to go there. This one here, we just move on to the next bracket. Not A and not B and C. A and not B and C, going to go there. Next one is A and B and not C. A and B and not C, going to go to there. A and B and C, so A and B and C, so where they're all 1s is just going to be there. draw it around those. So we've got essentially four different, so we've got, three different 2s there. So we've got the green square there, we've got the yellow square there, and then we've got the purple square there. Now, what that is going to simplify down to, if we have a little look on there, is if we take the green one, what is not changing in the green? So we've got A, and then we've also got, so let's have a look at B. So we look at the first value. So A doesn't change, so that's good. So A is going to be part of our first one. And then we've got B is changing from 0 to 1, but C stays as 1. So as we can see here, A and C. So that's going to simplify to A and C. We'll put some brackets around that, and then we put an OR. Let's go for the yellow one. So what is not changing in this one? So B stays as 1. So we can see vertically that B is going to stay the same there. And that would also be the same as if, the ones were here. You can see that B, not B and not C, if the ones were over there. So again, play around with different things in there and see what the different values are going to give you. And then also C is going to stay the same. A changes from 0 to 1 though. So we're going to put B and C, B and C. And then what we've got here is then we're going to go for so we've got for the final purple box there. So let's have a look at, so we've got 1 and 1 there. So A stays the same. So that means that we're going to be using A. And we can see that B stays the same. So in there, but C changes. So that's going to be B and C, or A and B, and A and B there. So that's going to simplify down to that expression there, or that expression there. Now, finally, what we have to do is we have to be able to put it into a 4-variable Karnaugh map. Now, with a 4-variable Karnaugh map, so again, looking at how we represent this, so it's the same pattern. So maybe you go for A and B, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. Just remember to put 3, so it goes 0, 1, 3, 2, 0, 1, 3, 2. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but just remember that order because it's how it works. That's going to affect how we simplify everything. So just remember that order of those. And then what we do is we're just going to put the values in there. So the values we've got here is not A and B, or not B and not C and not D. So let's have a look at that. So we take the first bracket, and where that is true is going to be not A and B. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Or, and then let's take the green one, which is going to be not, so it's going to be not B and not C and not D. So where that is true is where we've got zeros for all of them. So it's got to be 0 for B and 0 for C and D. So that's 1, but it's also going to be there because obviously we just ignored the A. So it doesn't really matter what the A is. So those are the two situations where it is. When you're drawing the boxes, you need to remember that these can wrap around the sides as well, which that sometimes can confuse things in there. So it's all about looking at those different situations in there as well. Now, this one we can't simplify it from anything, but I just wanted to show you this as to illustrate the point of how to represent this in a 4 Karnaugh map. And it's utilizing all of those different skills is what's going to allow you to answer those questions, because you're going to get questions where they're going to give you an algebraic expression and they just want you to represent it in a Karnaugh map. So that ticks that box. But then it's also about playing around with how we can actually use those to simplify them, which we did earlier on in the video. So have a play around with it, people. If you need some more questions, just message me to practice, but best of luck. I hope that goes really well for you. If you want to sign up for free exam support, please click the link in the description and remember to subscribe for more free content.